Hi, I'm Lee Chamberlain, and of course we've met before in the previous video. So anyway, without further ado, I'd like to talk to you about shipwreck research. Shipwreck research is in fact, and I'm sorry I have to do this, but there's a time limit on these things, so I've just used about 30 seconds of that. But anyway, shipwreck research actually involves, once you find out about a wreck, and by finding out, I mean one of three ways. One is an article in some paper or some news media, some form of media, you'll hear about it. But just hearing isn't enough, because then the process begins. It's based on three simple letters. E, E, I. And what this means is essential, I hope this will fit, elements, of information. Thank God I can abbreviate that one. EEIs are the records that you seek, okay? Now, what I mean by records, in the shipwreck industry, not only for salvors, but for nautical archaeologists, and that dirty word that people seem to put on everything, treasure hunters, comes down to archival research. Now, before we actually do all of these, hear about it, essential elements, you have to understand what a wreck is. A shipwreck is in fact any man-made object underwater. It used to be that it applied only to boats. Now it applies to ships, aircraft, vehicles, submerged cities or sites. Now, once you understand what a wreck is, then and only then do you begin to do your archival research. Now, in a lot of ways, I'm always dropping something, in a lot of ways you've got to understand that X never marks the spot. In fact, if you get somebody that offers you a treasure map and it's got an X on it, run. But anyway, in archaeology, X never marks the spot. However, what will help you to find it are the archives. Now, a lot of modern day libraries have reference sections. They commonly refer to these as the stacks. Now in the stacks, you'll find everything. Old newspaper reports, old journals, old diaries. Never give up on finding any information before you step foot out the door, load the first tank into a vehicle, and head to a boat. Because it is this word right here, and not these two words. And notice I said not these two dumb words, that are going to determine whether you're a success or a failure. Now, a lot of times, and trust me, I've been down this road before, when you research shipwrecks, what do you need to know? Well, first of all, you need to know the date of loss. You need to know exactly the type of craft it was. Then you need to know approximately, and that's a big word, where the loss happened. Don't worry, I didn't get good grades for penmanship either. However, knowing that approximately where, if you look on any really good map, any chart that shows shipwrecks, you will find two magic letters on those charts. P.A. That does not mean privately administered. It does not mean publicly administered, although in some cases it should be. It means position approximate. Now, I'm stressing this position approximate because in order for you to be successful, you have to take in all the dramatic effects that affect the site. In your archival research, you're going to want to know what body of water, we're going to abbreviate that, we're going to need to know the type of craft, the material it was made from, because wood floats even when it's waterlogged. You're going to need to know all the above information: tides, currents, the nature of the bottom, and you're going to need to know the nature of circumstance regarding the loss. Now, the reason I stress that is because when you do all of your archival research, if you have a list, remember I said EEI, essential elements of information? Well, you go to your archival records. Now, remember what I said. Journals, we're going to abbreviate that. Newspapers, logbooks, charts, and that's the biggie. You can actually find charts that date back to actually Columbus. The other part, and most people will disagree sometimes, is a thing called oral history. And in the next section, I'll get into how oral history plays because we're running tight on time. But the one thing I want you to do before you ever go to a wreck site, I want you to learn about nautical archaeology. It's not just put on a tank, it's not just go underwater, it's not just find a pot of gold, or for that matter, a pewter cup, or a button, or Civil War things. There are laws governing shipwrecks, and these laws are there for a very good reason, that so further studies can be done. If you happen to be diving over a wreck and it's not charted, mark its position, notify the appropriate authority. If you're in a different country, notify your state historical society, whatever. Do not touch, take, or remove anything from these sites. They are, by the way, most of the time under law protected. So with that, we have about 1 minute and 10 seconds. So, in a short thing, remember I said about oral history? Now, if you want something interesting, look up a boat called a bug-eye. Because this past summer, I actually dove a bug-eye that was underwater, or what was left of it. And I'll have images of that bug-eye up on the internet. It will not have the location or the description of any of the materials that it was made out of. But bug-eye boats were built in 1843 and then went on. The same as barge ferries, most of them in the United States, started around 1826 and ran all the way through to the 1900s. So, with that, bear in mind, when I started to do this, one of the significant things were residents, local authority, local historian. Now, one of the few times in my life when I've actually taken a dive and somebody said, if you go to this tree, go straight out 100 yards, you'll find it. There was no X, but 100 yards is 300 feet. So, in the next segment, we're going to discuss the bug eye and the research that was done to that and how I managed to go through and actually record its location. So, with that, they say 10 minutes are up. Have a good one. Later.